19th, 2020. Thank you, 2024. And this meeting's being recorded. Thank you, Hill. And let's call roll. Alexa Anderson. We have Alexa, like, yeah, no. Heather Bow. Yes. No.
Good
Heather.
morning. Yes. Can you
Oh,
hear
good
me?
morning. I was like,
Okay,
I
there we
saw
go.
her. Okay, so Heather, Justin
I'm
Cameron.
here.
Oh,
That's
is that
Alexa.
you, Alexa?
Alexa,
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't unmute.
Oh, you've never done this before, have you? I'm just giving you a hard time. Thank you, Alexa. So we have Alexa, we have Heather, Justin, I see you.
Morning.
Morning. Bob Conry. No, Bob. Gail Dowd. Am I just missing everyone? Gail, I saw you.
Present.
Peter Fishalis.
Yes.
Good morning, Peter. Don Barriello, I'm present. Andrew Herchak.
Present.
Good morning, Andrew. Russ
Morning.
Hughes.
Here.
Hey, Russ. Tim Holt.
Here.
Good morning. Lori Hunter.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mark Howell.
Here.
Good morning. Carrie LaFleur.
Good morning, Dawn.
Good morning, Carrie. Pat Nelson.
Good morning, Dawn.
Good morning. Chris let me know he would not be here today. Charlie Parker.
Good morning.
Good morning. Matt Root.
Good morning.
Good morning, Matt. Eric Sims.
Morning.
Good morning. And Steve Stasevsky. Oh my God, I can't talk today, Steve.
I'm here, Pat. I'm not done. Oh my God.
We're all messed up today.
Yep.
Good morning, Steve. All
Good
right,
morning.
with that, let's call the meeting to order. First order of business, approval of meeting minutes. We've got November 8th, which was our walkthrough at the middle school, and November 14th. Have folks had a chance to review it? Does anyone have any edits?
I had two quick comments.
Go ahead, Mark.
November 8, I was not present, so I wasn't able to do that. So just check the attendance there. And on November 14th, I noticed in Wilson Kerr's comment, it probably meant to say statute, not statue.
Yep, good edit. Thank you for that, Mark. You got those, Ian?
Got it.
Very good. Any other edits or changes? All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve with Mark's edits.
So moved.
Okay, on both November 8th and 14th. Was that Mark?
Yeah.
Very good. All right, thank you, Matt. So we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of November 8th and 14th with the edits proposed by Mark Howell. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Alexa Anderson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Heather Bow?
Yes.
Peter Fishalis. I really am messing up everyone's names today. Peter.
Yes.
Dawn Barriello. I won't mess up my own. I'm a yes. Andrew Herchak.
Yes.
Tim Holt. Tim's here, right? I see you, Tim.
Yes.
Thank you. Lori Hunter.
Yes.
Mark Howell.
Yes.
Pat Nelson.
Yes.
Charlie Parker.
Yes.
Matt Root.
Yes.
Steve Stashevsky.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Next, correspondence communication. Do we have anything, Heather?
Yep, just a couple since the last time. Just two emails. One was from another junior high school principal asking for info, and one very nice offer to help Dawn with her school needs, also known as marketing. So that was it this time.
I don't even remember seeing that one.
What's that?
I don't even remember seeing that one. I saw the one from the other school.
It came in a couple times. Dawn, we'd love to help you with your school needs. Anyway, I was just gonna make a quick note on communications. I don't have another big plan to present. It's a crazy week this week, but we are getting closer, exciting as this may sound, to move in time and communicating that out. So I just want to give everybody a heads up. Yes, that's on my radar. The next time we meet, I will bring kind of a draft of some communication plans, which will pretty much look similar to our past communication plans where we're getting stuff out. But We want to get out the word that we'll be moving into the building in February and get people excited about it in town. So just a note that that's on the radar, and there'll be more to talk about in January.
Great, and I assume that's being coordinated with Dr. Hunter and Justin as far as like dates and what's happening and when. Awesome.
It will be.
Great. All right, very good. Thank you, Heather.
Sure, thank you.
Moving right along, we've got our OPM update. So there's a handful of things on here, Ian, if you want to roll through them, starting with financial.
Great. Thank you, Don. So we've got quite a bit of ground to cover this morning. I'm going to go through the financial reporting. We've got a number of change orders to look at from CTA that have been approved by the TRC. We've got the moving a vendor award, some overtime tracking and updates via change order. We've got two that we have committee vote proposed for today. The winter conditions, the last and final winter conditions PCO, a PM or additional PM request from CTA that we'll talk about, and then an amendment for SMMA for FF&E on-site supervision, just to make sure that goes smooth, and then we'll get into the construction update. So without further ado, here is the cost summary. So we have preemptively updated all the numbers, assuming that everything goes well today. So that's reflective of the numbers here. So as far as change orders approved through today, we've got 1.6, close to 1.7 million in changes to date. Our forecasted number went down. We've got 231,000 in forecasted costs. Those are just outstanding PCOs, miscellaneous changes that are happening as the progresses, as the project progresses here. So expenditures to date 71.8 million. So we're closing in on that, 86 for total construction value. The A&E services, the only thing that has changed is the amendment that we'll talk about later. We propose to use some uncommitted funds to cover that, so we don't have to utilize soft cost contingency. One change for OPM services. We'll go over what else. That's pretty much it. So committed cost, we've got 103 million committed to date, and our expenditures are a total of 83 million. So we've got a balance of 28. Any questions on budget summary? Cash flow, got everything balanced out through December, and then projecting forward the remaining expenditures for the job. And so that should be pretty straightforward at this point. Any comments on that one? Here's the graph. All right, contingency usage. So we've got hard cost contingency tracking. We started out with 4.5 million. We used close to 1.7 to date. We've forecasted 231,000. So we've got a remaining balance of close to 2.7 million. And soft cost contingency, we're still holding the 611,561 as a balance there.
Hey, Ian,
Yep.
can I ask a pretty dumb question that I probably should have asked a couple of meetings ago? But how does this chart tie back to the previous spreadsheet you just presented with in terms of total contingency?
Everything should tie out here. The exception being the budget summary. As we move funds from hard costs and soft costs into the various line items, that number continues to move. So it doesn't necessarily show the starting value on that form. So this column here is the approved budget line. So these numbers are so some of them tie out, some of them don't for various reasons. So that actually,
isn't it the first and third column on the under 70?
Yeah, this okay. So yep. So it's basically the approved budget less the risk, and you've got the contingency. So that ties out, and then the soft cost ties out. So I stand corrected. So
Andrew, it's two of those three contingency lines.
No, I get it.
You see
Thank
that the 2.6 and the 6.11 where the first and third, then there's a bid contingency in there, the middle one. That's
So with a bid contingency is not charted. Okay.
Yep.
And sorry, one more. What is the difference between bid contingency with the hard and soft?
At the time we were asked to break that out. One is an additional contingency. The one down here, the 2 million and change, was the bid contingency if we had an overrun on bid day. Because the numbers came in lower, we didn't touch that, and we also had a construction bid savings, so we dumped that into a construction bid savings contingency value. So this is really the construction budget savings on bid day, and then this is the additional contingency that we laid out that was unused as well. So
it's contingency on contingency, Andrew.
No, I
none of it, those have not been touched. It's only the construction and owners that have been touched and then graphed. So there's still another 4+ that is not graphed, and also I don't think has been touched. So
and it would be available, right? And I don't want to waste people's time, so I apologize, but my experience with these projects is in the 11th hour stuff comes up, and I just want to know exactly what we have.
If it's 4 million, we're in trouble.
Yeah, okay. Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. But to your point, demo can be unpredictable too. So
for sure. But
we're in good shape.
Yeah, so these values here are the projection of the soft cost contingency that accounts, the hard cost contingency that accounts for that, and then this is the bid contingency savings. So we've got 7.7 million in contingencies.
That's helpful.
The hope is we don't need that and the town gets it back.
It's a parachute. No, I get it. I get it.
Ian, could you go back to the chart of the cash flow? Just looking at the contractors' work in place cost for the months of April, May, June, July, and August.
Yep.
Yeah. So could you summarize what the phase 2 construction cost is after the school is complete? Just in round numbers, what are 3, 4?
After the
$6 million
complete, was it roughly like $10 million, I want to say.
Right. And so the $10 million demolition project has $4 million in contingency.
Yes. And then some.
What, in my point of view, the construction contingency and the design contingency dollars is 2.2 and 600,000. So you've got $2.8 million in, you know, what would be recommended contingency from the outset. In addition to those $2.8 million, we have bid contingency and bid savings that were kind of coming out of COVID. We didn't know what we needed to, you know, forecast, so we threw some extra money in there. But the 2.8, I would really strongly hold on to right now. Everything else is nice to have. Would you agree with that, Ian?
Yeah.
I just think we hold on to everything until the project's complete, Steve, but I think the hope is that those don't need to be touched. The 2 buckets of 2 million, right, to add up to 4.2. And
Yeah,
then
sorry, I
your
didn't
point
mean to
is we
misspeak,
still have
but-
construction contingency that's 2 point something. I don't have it in front of me, and a 600 on soft costs. So there it is, 2.6 and 611. Yeah. And the phase 2 is demo and fields, right? So it's establishment of playing fields after the
Yeah.
demo of the building.
That's
Is
right.
that whatever you said, plus or minus 10 million left
That's
after the
right.
building's
Yeah,
complete in February? Yeah.
It's demo and fields.
Right.
Sorry for the tangent. I think that was helpful though. Thank you.
Yeah,
No
it's
problem.
good to understand.
Yeah, I'll just comment that it's not, that's a great tangent to go off on because contingency was a big deal when we were getting funding for the project. And it's really nice to see that we have so much contingency to deal with any unforeseen expenses when we demo Sanborn. So it's great.
Okay, no other questions? Should Ian move on? All right, keep going.
All right, let's do it. So this is the TRC log. This shows commitments since we last met. We've got just a small change on technology that we captured, Amazon services. We've got a number of change orders for CTA 33, 34, 35, 36, which we'll review. We have accounted for town employee salaries that you guys had previously voted on, so that's been committed. At this point, we've got another commitment for CMLP. They're going to be doing the cabling, the fiber to the new building. So we've accounted for that here, utilizing the utility budget line. We've got the Wakefield is our mover. We'll go over that later, but that's that commitment, 123,930. We've got some additional testing services that we needed to do an amendment for SGH to do some follow-up testing earlier this year. We've got the moving services, or sorry, the FF&E oversight services that we'll get into later for SMMA Amendment 7. And then the last two are also PCOs that we'll be reviewing for winter conditions and the PM time. So those are the commitments. On the hard cost side, we're proposing to use contingency for all the CTA changes, and then on the soft cost side, we're actually utilizing either uncommitted funds, uncommitted funds in the budget. So no need to use contingencies there. And then these are all the invoices that were paid since we last met. Various vendors for technology, and CTA's requisition is the big one here. SMMA and Hills progress payments, FINA progress payment. So any questions?
I think you usually tell us during the construction update, but what percent complete are they? Like, what are they billing against for percent complete?
John, do you have that number?
Yep, just trying to unmute here. 88% through November.
Yep.
Okay.
including phase 2
When are they punching?
now.
Now? Okay. Has that been monetized or it will be?
Just beginning the punch list process in Part C.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not at that point where we monetize the punch list, but
It won't be long though, right? I
Yep.
mean, it's mid. They're moving in 2 months.
yep.
When is substantial completion?
Right now we're tracking to mid-February.
So when are they getting their C of O, their certificate of occupancy?
Same date.
So they'll be moving in furniture before they get all that?
That's right. Yeah, we've been communicating, coordinating all this. We meet with CTA every other week now. We have a certificate of occupancy tracking log in which we're tracking all the various tasks and things that we need to do in order to get the C of O or the temporary C of O. So we're certainly having those conversations with CTA. We're doing a lot of coordination behind the scenes. And one of the things that we've been coordinating through is just the details of the furniture vendors. We just had a walkthrough with the furniture vendor this week to coordinate that on site so that they can see the space and where everything's going. And then we've also been coordinating the move services as well. So, and CTA is in the know on all this, and the town is in the know on all this, and so we're just trying to pull it all together towards the end here.
I may be getting ahead of your update, but just curious as far as what the see about, will the elevator be ready and available for the furniture move?
Yes.
Okay.
It's all being incredibly well choreographed and stacked, obviously, and that's taking a lot of collaboration, and we're just grateful to CTA and everybody at this table. And the details we're in the weeds, making sure we have all that aligned so that it can be pulled off. But it's an impressive set of activities laid out in front of us. And like Ian said, we're meeting a lot right now to just all stay on the same page. So,
Lori or Ian, can you just remind me? So if we're expecting the certificate of occupancy the mid-February, and our move-in date is, remind me again, I just don't have a calendar in front of me.
It's going to be the week after February break, which is the 24th would be the first day of classes in the new facility.
Okay.
Yeah, really between 2/14 and then it's our move time.
Yeah, a lot of the heavy moving happens the 14th through the 21st.
and I think it's worth remembering, teachers are bringing some of their things, but otherwise they're not bringing a lot. So heavy moving is relative to what they need to actually bring with them. The furniture is all coming in during the month of January, mostly a little bit in early February. We've got a professional day, February 14th, with hopes that the staff can be in and doing those last touches. And then in my perfect world, we have the some point in the week of February break to at least open it up to middle school families if they're around and give them an opportunity to get in. But we got to make sure every box falls the way we have it planned before we're quite sure. But all the teams are really well organized right now and staying close and being really proactive. So I feel like the pieces are in place.
Okay, so I'm sure there is a ton of coordination going on this. This is like a really stressful sort of operation you're going through. I just didn't hear, what are the steps that we take with the town previous to starting to move things in before we get the C of O? Will the town come in and?
Yeah, they're already in communication with us at multiple levels. Jen's working on a meeting next week, I think, with the building inspector to get ahead of all of that. We've been in touch with a number of other town department heads And pretty much anybody who's required to be part of the permit is already being contacted and being talked through, health director, you know, on and on. So we're staying really close to them and being as proactive as possible.
Great. Thanks. Thanks, Lori.
Yeah, we're in contact with pretty much every department in town at this point. We've got the building department, fire department, public works, health, yeah, planning, all the various departments. We've kept them very much in tune with what's happening on the project week to week at the OAC meetings, and then just starting to do individual outreach at this point, and making sure we check all the boxes, everybody's ready to go, and understanding timelines and everything. So
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, now I've sent you on a tangent. I'm sorry. I just had questions really, like, it started with what they were billing against. And
no, that's all right.
It dragged into more, so I'm sorry. But thank you.
It's
Very
good.
helpful.
It's good to talk through these things, because we live it every day, but you guys don't. So it's kind of nice to share some of the things that we're doing. So
Yeah, I'd say my only worry is not, you know, if you're pushing the TCO or whatever, if you're doing a permanent or a temporary, whatever, just to not let it get so close to when they're actually supposed to be attending school the week after. I just know how those things go, and if there's any hiccups, it may be cutting it close, but that's why you guys know more than I do about this. So sounds like
We're trying to avoid that, Dawn, I guess, is the short answer.
I've been there. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been there where you're right
Yeah.
up against it, and something, you know, there's something goes awry. So, all right.
yeah, and any opportunity we have to do earlier inspections and get sign off from the various departments earlier, we're going to take advantage of that, and we're pushing CTA to do that, to, you know, really do their pre-punch activities, and then followed by SMMA going through the building and just cleaning everything up, area, you know, floor by floor and building by building, and getting things signed off systematically. So
yeah, so the punch stuff's going to be rolling as things are finished. So it'll start in C, and even floor by floor. Jen's choreographing's the big word with CTA, so they can follow in right behind them, and then making our way through the rest of the building as it's complete. So
Just watch your furniture move is my best advice.
yeah.
Because if it's punched and then they come in and
Nope,
bang
yeah,
things up,
you're right. We're
you're gonna
having
be
that conversation.
doing this. Yeah. Okay. All right.
we got a lot of eyes on the furniture deliveries, with a lot of conversations going on there. So definitely a focus.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
One quick question, comment. I think Carrie's on the call. Carrie, I'm just, you know, trust but verify, but just from her perspective, are her departments aligned with what you guys are saying, you know, in terms of the building inspector, et cetera? They know it's a priority.
Hi, good morning, Andrew.
Hey,
Sorry,
Carrie.
I don't have my camera is not working this morning. I
No
think
problem.
Gail maybe is in a better position to speak on that, or Ian, but I mean, I know from what I'm hearing, there are a lot of meetings and things are, you know, maybe a bit hectic, but they're moving along well, and the lines of communication are very, very good. So I don't have anything to offer other than what's been said. I still would say I think the success of this project is the best kept secret in town. I wish I heard more people talking about it, because it's going very, very well, from the construction coordination and the finances. And I think the community should be very pleased with the work that this committee is doing on this project.
Thank you, Carrie. Sometimes silence is the best celebration, right? If people aren't talking about it, then maybe nothing's wrong, right? So.
Duly noted, Carrie, from a communication standpoint. We're ready to kick it up in January, definitely.
I was at the chair's breakfast yesterday, and all of the committees have heard the progress that we're making, all the committee chairs, and got a lot of people coming up afterwards saying what a great job we've been doing. So at least the chairs of the other committees in town are apprised. pleased.
Good.
That's great. And as someone who has a middle schooler driving by the building every day, the kids are excited. I can tell you that much.
Good.
All right, Ian, you want to keep going on this? Sorry, I sent us totally off on a tangent and I apologize, but it's all good
Sure.
stuff.
No problem. So I'm gonna jump into change orders here. These were some of these were approved by the TRC, and then we'll get into the committee votes later. So Jen, you wanna
Sure.
jump in and go over these, please?
Yep. Good morning. Just a couple for change order 33, just a couple small changes related to ceiling modifications. So the first one, it says stair modifications, but it's ceilings at the various stair towers that we have. Just some additional soffits and trim work just to sort of finish off some areas as they sort of intersect with curtain walls and things. So just cleaning up some of the detailing there. So that's $3,925. And then PCO 85 is related to, again, another ceiling modification at the music practice room, just adding a soffit in that area. So that's $3,101. Any questions on change order 33? Okay.
Good.
Change
34.
order, yep, 34 is one PCO 89, which is just adding some trim at some of the outside corners and the team commons areas. Just the detail that we have with some of the plastic laminate that we have on the facing. It's where it came to the corner. It was creating sort of a sharp edge. So we wanted to deal with that condition and added some wood trim at the corners. So we have 19 commons, so times 9 at, several corners, it added up to $4,461. Any questions? All right. And 35 and 36 are both related to some additional premium Saturday work that we've authorized CTA to do to keep the project moving along. So this is just a compilation of several. We went, I guess, month by month here. So this is September's overtime work, which totaled. Sorry. This one was totaled $40,426. And then October's tally into November, November is $35,731.
Yeah, and I can share, big picture tracking of the premium time through mid-November. We've authorized around $104,000 in premium time. And then we're, projecting out if we project out, 10,000 a Saturday, like we had discussed before with the committee, there's still about $120,000 in projections there, just to help you understand where we're at, big picture.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we haven't been doing it every weekend. Thanksgiving we didn't. I think the holidays are going to slow that down too. So it's really on an as needed basis, as we described to you, and has mattered when we've done it, but we're not doing it when we don't need to. So we'll continue to bring you those updates.
Yep. Good. Next order of business is the recommendation for award for moving services. So the committee already pre-approved the moving services budget. So this is just informational for you guys. Just wanted to let you know that we received 3 bids from Wakefield, William Lowe and Sons, and Sterling. And Wakefield was the lowest bidder, the most responsive and responsible bidder. So they're $123,930, and the other ones were, upwards of 250,000. I think the difference is the way that they dispose of materials, because our move also includes getting everything out of the existing buildings and recycling and disposing of those materials. So Wakefield has a program in which they they recycle at a lower cost. So that gave them the advantage on this proposal. So we still have $76,000 as a remaining balance for the moving budget, and we're in the process of finalizing bids for the library move specifically, and then we also need to take care of any of the chemicals and that sort of thing. So we'll be working on those procurement of those vendors as well. Any questions?
I actually have one. Are those bids separately? The library and the chemicals? How's that work?
They are. Yes. Yep. They're separate. Library bids are due next week. And then we'll get into the chemical move. We prioritize the biggest moves first. So.
And that's both out of Peabody and Sanborn.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, in theory, it's just teacher contents, right? It's like things out of their classroom that need to go, because like you said, furniture and everything's already going to be in the building. So this is like administration, files, that sort of thing.
That's right. Yeah. So all the teacher administration stuff will be going into the new building, and then any furniture that's in the existing facilities will be removed, recycled, disposed of, that sort of thing.
And for the library, has someone gone through the exercise of consolidation of volumes and that sort of thing? I assume there's media specialists that are.
We've gone through the exercise of counting if they all fit.
Yeah.
We're gonna get them, we're gonna move them all and then all out. But
Consolidate.
There's room to fit everything.
Okay.
And once it's all in one place, we can do the.
I see.
Editing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just know what a big exercise that is. So that sounds like it's happening after it all goes over. Okay.
Yeah, this is a specialized library mover. They deal with keeping it all in order and putting it up in order.
Yeah.
Which
awesome.
Obviously is tedious. So once we get it all over, we'll take on the task of consolidation.
That should be fun. Awesome.
It sounds like a big project to me, but yes.
Yeah, you need to make sure those.
But we're excited to get it quickly. Go from it.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, great. Anyone else have questions?
Yeah, I do. Because the move is such a sensitive piece of this. Am I understanding correctly that Wakefield is about half of what the other two bids were?
That's right.
Okay. So is that what percentage of that difference is captured in their recycling program? Maybe you don't have an answer for that, but just makes me a little nervous. And I know we have to take the lowest bid, and I'm sure you vetted them thoroughly.
Yeah, that was the obvious concern when we got these bids, just making sure that everyone captured the same scope. And that's with anything that we put out on the streets for bidding. So we did go back and do some due diligence with the vendors just to make sure that they had everything captured. We did a walkthrough with them as well, and so they were able to kind of touch and feel the spaces and understand scope. And really, I think my understanding of Wakefield is it comes down to their efficiencies in recycling. And that program. So I don't know too much more about their company and their operations other than that. Hunter, I don't know if you have anything to add. Hunter's been spearheading this process for us and has spoken to Wakefield.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that we've used them on another project with GRRO is the name of that nonprofit. They do a lot of donation of furniture to third world countries and stuff like that. So I think they were better able to allocate exactly from that inventory list what can be recycled, what can be donated, and kind of use that to fine tune their bids.
Okay.
And for
this
what
is-
it's worth, I've used Wakefield before. They're reputable. They're, you know,
Oh,
they're-
okay, that's helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is Tim. I would agree with Pat. I had the same notion when I looked at those numbers. $100,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
The two issues that are critical, and I assume you guys have looked at this, and Don was, one is it are they doing the right thing? Okay, is this way, whatever the recycling is it proper in terms of the environment and socially? And secondly, related to that is any liability that the town would have liability if it was subsequently found that it wasn't. So I think the question is a good one, and that you guys have checked this out. And if, Don, you've worked with them before and they're ethical, I understand it, but it is a big difference. I'm comfortable if you guys are recommending this, but it's just I think the question was a good one.
They
Yeah,
have
no,
their
those are all good questions.
they have their own insurance, I'm sure. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's you just never want to get caught up in one of these things. Yeah, if
I
there's a
mean,
problem.
the way low bidding works is, you know, you do your due diligence and you take the low bidder unless you have
Right.
reason not to, right? So,
I
like, if there's-
totally
yeah.
understand that, and that's the appropriate thing to do. I just want to make sure that, and if you've worked with them before and they're reputable, that suffices for me.
Yeah, we've worked with them before. We've had them on a number of projects as well. So
Okay, thank you.
yep, you're welcome. So that gets us into the PCOs that we're presenting for committee approval today. So as you know, we've been going through all the winter conditions costs. We had approved essentially 4 PCOs to date. For winter conditions costs, we had a total of 344,000 that's been previously approved. So this is above and beyond that. This is what we're presenting today as something that we, CTA had disputed these costs. They felt that they were owed, what they put in this PCO, which was a little over $300,000. We did not agree with that value, obviously, and so we were able to systematically go through and look at the numbers and negotiate this down to $150,000, $261.10. So a lot of work went into this to get to this point. And this would be the final winter conditions PCO. We got down to the granular level of verifying and estimating a number of these values, both for the subs and for CTA direct costs. To get to this point. So, the sub costs we've included here, and then we went through and made sure that all the markups were appropriate, that they are consistent with the contractual obligations and markups, and we've captured all the CTA direct costs. Some of the big topics that we had to get behind us and took a lot of discussion was just the heating costs, and what they captured in their base bid versus what they were asking for here for additional costs. And so we were able to reach an agreement on that, and essentially those costs were negotiated down to 50% of those costs is what we settled on. So again, all in, we're at $150,000 negotiated down from $300,000. So this is something that took a lot of effort, but we finally got there, and we felt comfortable, presenting this to the committee today. So, Lori, do you have anything to add?
Sure. Yeah, Gail and I were at the table for all of this.
Yeah.
The word settlement might not be quite perfect. We really made them go back through with us and legitimize things. And in talking through all of that, we agreed on some and we didn't agree on others. And the ones we agreed on are the ones that you're seeing here. I think the part Ian's also referencing is, there's some nuance to it when there's a heating claim based on a delay of schedule, then it's the differential you're trying to determine. And we talked a lot about how we were going to determine that because they obviously had to provide some heat. So that's what you're seeing here is a lot of discussion in the weeds, and just my thanks to the Hill team. Vinnie Miller, who's not at your meetings, was a real workhorse here to dig into every single line and detail here so that Gail and I understood where we were at. And I think, thanks to CTA too, we spent a lot of time with them answering and, working through all the questions we had and how we could come to arrange for what we're proposing to you here in terms of what we could validate. So I think we feel pretty good that the due diligence has been done in a really long process, given that we're a year out now from the winter condition discussion starting. And would like to see this behind us. And I think it puts us in a good position to finish the project. So.
I think this is a really good job, Lori. This is farther than I thought you guys would get. I think you did a fine job in negotiating this.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Agreed. And just want to remind everyone, this is last winter. I think Lori just said it. And I remind everyone what we're talking about. So this was the disputed amount. So basically, the difference that we didn't agree on for almost a year. We're trying to move past this so it doesn't become something greater that we end up having to deal with differently. So there's definitely a cost there. So I think the team did a great job sort of dissecting what was being asked for and coming to a compromise, which is what this ends up being all about. So good job.
I'll just add a comment from the technical review committee. We did see the original costs and we rejected those back in February, March, and April, and these were set aside as the bucket of disputed costs. So there was hours and hours and hours and hours that Gail and Dr. Hunter and the rest of the team at Hill contributed to negotiating these. And in looking at this summary, I'm in full support of that, even though I haven't seen the back and forth and all the nitty gritty details, and it didn't go through the technical review committee because it is a higher value change order, so it's being presented here today. But again, my full support is behind this.
And can I ask a quick question? So if I'm remembering correctly, we sort of knew this was coming back. So does this represent sort of the closing of this chapter that we were kind of in limbo on for a while?
Yes,
that's right.
Great. Thanks.
And I asked the question, is this it? Like, as far as winter conditions, like call it done. I'm told as far as this dispute, this would be it. Like
this is it. Everyone's in agreement. This is it. And relieved that this is it from PTA to us.
So was I when I got the answer. So yes.
Yeah, I think this is great work, and that's what I really wanted to understand the contingencies and the value of holding a strong contingency for stuff like this. Very very happy to approve this myself.
So we need a vote on this then, yeah? There's no further discussion?
Yes.
Okay, does anyone have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve change order 20.4 as presented for $150,261.10.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Alexa Anderson, how do you vote?
Yeah, I vote yes. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Heather Bow?
Yes, with thanks for all the time that went into this.
Yeah. And Peter Pachelas?
Aye with a well done.
So that's a yes?
Yes.
Oh, did you say aye? I might have missed that. Sorry. Dawn Goriel, I'm a yes, and thank you to the team. Andrew Herchuk?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Tim Hope?
Yes, and thank you again for all the hard work.
Lori Hunter?
Yes, thank you.
Mark Howell?
Yes, it's nice to see this one close. Thank you again.
Agreed. Pat Nelson?
Yes, and again, thank you.
Charlie Parker? Charlie still lips.
So
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Sorry, I don't have all the people up because Ian's still sharing. Matt Root?
Yes, and thank you.
Very good. And Steve Stashewski?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Motion passes.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next PCO that we're presenting today is one related to added resources from CTA. This is something that they came to us with this request and said, hey, we really want to deliver this project on time. We want to add a project manager to help us out with that process, someone that we didn't anticipate using up front, but now we're getting close to the finish line. We want to make sure that everybody's focused and we have the right amount of resources to get there. So this is a change that we had them go back and clarify their PM's responsibility. You guys, we had talked about this a couple months back, and at that point we had said, you know what, let's approve 50% of the PM's time for the month of October, see how it goes, make sure that this is the right thing. And so we're at that point where Kevin's been out there for 2 months now, 2.5 months, and he's making an impact to the job, and it's something that has freed up their senior PM to really focus on schedule with the various trades and make sure that he's pushing the various trades to maintain their schedule, and that there's not any traffic jam, so to speak, with one trade running into the next trade in the various spaces. So we see value in this, which is why we're presenting it today, to compensate CTA. And this is something that we went back and forth on with them and arrived at this number today. So we're proposing essentially it's 75% of their request, which is this $67,710. So the idea here was to split these costs, have CTA cover some of the PM's time, 50% through November and December, they would cover, and then we would start picking up the full tab in January and February. So
you mean 2025 on those, Ian?
I definitely mean 2025. Yes.
Yeah, I'll just add to that a bit. We certainly weren't, we had authority to pay 50% until we came back to you. So that's how we approached it. We were not able to go in arrears. We were clear with them about that. We are advocating that there's some legitimacy to the pace of what's going to need to happen in January and February. And that's why our recommendation on this is to fully fund this additional person in January and February. We've seen positive outcomes of the additional person already, and we can only imagine that that's, based on what we've described to you already, an additional person helping to keep all those pieces moving makes really great sense. And in many ways, it's reflective of their commitment to hit the schedule. So that's our recommendation to you, and we're hoping you'll consider that today.
Jen, so I think that's perfectly reasonable, and I support that. But can you just give me a little bit of information about how that will coordinate with the on-site supervision for FF&E with SMMA?
Yeah,
Or
so
are they
there,
two totally unrelated?
yeah, there's not going to be any overlap. So this is CTA's project manager and resources. So you know, we've got some detail about what he's been doing and what he will continue to do, but you know, things like MEP commissioning, really digging into that process and making sure that that's proceeding as planned. He's been doing a lot of the work lists, so the pre-punch lists with the subs prior to SMMA going through the building and doing punch lists. He's digging into RFIs and submittals and just making sure that the scope is clear, and the submittals are approved and ready to go. Here as we approach the finish line, he's even getting into T&M tracking with the premium time on Saturdays, and then helping out with schedule and other just you know, other things. You know, filling all the gaps on CTA side, and you know, just again, it's been good to have that resource, and the senior PM's been focusing in on schedule and obviously managing the whole job, but you know, doing that and having that focus with the trades. What we're proposing next with SMMA is completely focused on the FF&E process. That'll be in a completely separate resource, and that'll be through SMMA and their subconsultants. Tefura will provide a project manager on site to receive all the deliveries, coordinate that process, make sure all the furniture is going into the right space, and just, you know, that's our single point of contact for that process. Yep.
Yeah, in fact,
Can
that's
can I simplify? Sorry, Lori, let me simplify it for you, Pat. The project manager that we're talking about here, the 67,000, he's the building, right? Like the FF&E is how it's been described to me and how I always think about it. If you flip the building upside down and shake it, whatever falls out is FF&E. That there's some anomalies, like your projectors are going to be mounted to the wall, but you know, for the most part, it's like the loose stuff in the building. So this guy's focused on the building, getting the building complete. And if you think about it like music, it's the crescendo, like it's at the end, like all these things are happening and he's choreographing it. The FF&E is like all the loose stuff that Tefura, I guess, is your consultant, Jen. They're an FF&E consultant, so they coordinate the buyout and where, you know, how many chairs, how many desks, how many shelves in offices and that sort of thing. And they're there to make sure it's all put in the right place and that it all arrives correctly, where, you know, you're not getting the wrong chair, or you're not getting the wrong amount of desks or that sort of thing. So they're sort of two different buckets, and they're definitely two different buckets of money, right? So we have our construction budget, which this guy is finishing up coordinating, and then you have your FF&E. So they're kind of two different things, if that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see two hands.
Can I ask? Oh,
yep.
Sorry.
Hold on, Andrew. I'll come right back to you. I see Heather and then Mark, and then I'll call on you, Andrew. Go ahead, Heather.
Great, thank you. So high level, this definitely sounds like it makes a lot of sense. I know where we are from what we've heard in terms of how tight this schedule is, and also the fact that we do still have some good contingency. I feel like this is a good investment to keep us on track and get us there. My one question is, and it sounds like I think I know the answer to this, but if you could confirm, if assuming we do this, do we have a high level of confidence that we really will finish on time and open on time?
My confidence grows every day that we're going to get in.
That's great.
I asked that question yesterday, Heather.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure we're doing this, that we have the same end in sight. If we do this, we feel like, yes, we're getting there, we're opening on time. And that's a great message to communicate out. So I just
you never know the unexpected, but
exactly.
Right now,
that's why I say
everyone's working in the same path and at the pace we need to be at. So I'm growing, pretty sure we're gonna get in.
That's terrific.
Yes, this gives CTA the additional tools they need to hit the dates.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Heather. Mark.
So mine is kind of a timing question. I noticed it's very specific about February 28th, 25 for the end date. And has CTA sort of suggested that they're going to roll this person into phase 2 activities or something like that? Or whatever happens, it's up to them. I note the activity called phase 2 micro schedule, which sounds to me like something that happens after February 28th. So I'm just wondering whether they've given an indication about that.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about the PM staying on and for phase 2. They're welcome to do that, but you know, this would be the request for reimbursement wouldn't go beyond that. So we're proposing to pick up, you know, the cost now. If they want to have them stay on, they can do that, but we're not gonna pay for it, basically.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if this is much of a question, and I think it would be impossible to calculate, but in my experience, like having someone in the 11th hour doing this might help mitigate, you know, like walking around looking at quality might mitigate, you know, punch list items, or might mitigate the need for like rush shipments or overnight deliveries, or might get another RFI or RFP out and slightly lower cost downstream, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's a good way to think about it. And again, impossible to calculate, but that's how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, good points.
Yeah, it's basically another hand on deck to help
Mhm.
like get them there, right? And hopefully it helps ease the burden come move-in date. Steve,
I don't want to be a kind of a stick in the
you're breaking up,
mud,
Steve. I
but
don't know if you're in a maybe you're in Concord, bad cell service. Try again. No, I can't hear you, Steve. Steve, can you put your question in the chat, maybe? We can't hear you. Steve. I can't mute him, but I was gonna mute him and ask him to put it in the chat because he's just breaking up.
I am.
All right, Steve, we're gonna move on because we can't hear you. You're all broken. All right. Sorry, Steve. I can't take your question because I can't hear it. Oh, please, Steve. Oh, good for you, Pat.
Thank you.
Steve, Pat's telling you to put your question in the chat. Thanks, Pat. Does anyone else have any questions on this? Maybe we can postpone a motion on this one to wait for Steve's question or for better cell service, depending on where he is.
I'm gonna pull over and stop. So
I heard
CTA,
pull over, Steve. You want to try again? All right, maybe he's putting it in the chat when he pulls over. All right, let's if there's no other questions on this, move on, and we'll come back to the what is this one, change order.
So the next one is
Oh, that
what
yep.
Pat was asking about. So this is the FF&E on-site supervision. So you know, this is something that again we talked about the need for focus here, and there's a lot of eyes on this process. We want to propose to have someone from Stafora on site to take all these deliveries and make sure that the process goes seamlessly here. So this is a proposal for their services for a 5-week period to do so. And that'll be mid-January to mid-February, roughly. Deliveries start January 10th. So that's when we'll start to see furniture on site. So right around the new year. So this proposal is for $21,450 for that time period. to have Sephora on site and taking those deliveries. And so
and that's through SMMA.
That's correct. Yep.
Mhm.
They're a sub consultant to
Yep.
to SMMA. Yep.
Is
Jen,
it
do you
one
have
person?
anything to add?
Is it a team? Sorry, I have multiple questions.
It's it's primarily one person, but with the support of the staff and Leanne, who's the more senior person, you know, she will be on site if she needs to. We're gonna manage
Okay.
that, make sure that it
Okay.
goes smoothly. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Do others have questions?
Don,
And
do
they're
you
the ones
wanna-
that did all the layouts, right, Jen? Sorry, Pat.
Yes.
They did.
Yeah, they did
all
the design, the
initial
bid packages, everything. So they're really familiar with the scope and,
Yeah.
you know, appropriate to have them manage that process.
Yeah, just so everyone understands, they're not a new consultant. They've been on the project, they've done all the layouts, and they're basically managing as things come in, coordinating where they go and making sure there's enough of them and they're the right product.
Correct.
Go ahead, Pat.
Well, I just wanted to let you know that Steve had put his question in the chat. I don't know if you can see that. And I'll let you manage how you want to go back to Steve's question or whether you want to finish with Jen.
I thought it actually had it crossed out, the reservation of rights language from this and all other. So is that the cross out of PCOs cannot be?
That's
Yep.
correct.
Yeah, we got rid of that language
We
on
have,
this.
yeah, we cannot approve that language, have not approved that language.
Yeah, so
every PCO is marked up this way.
Okay, great.
Can we ask them to stop putting it on the PCOs?
We certainly have, and
they won't.
They won't.
You can keep asking, but
We will. We'll keep asking.
I guess I have one question about the Sephora. Is there also something that maybe as the owner or really as the school itself that needs to be done to match up with this to make sure that I understand that this has all been designed by a contractor who's been working on the project, but I also understand that as the ultimate receiver, sometimes, you know, it's not quite what was expected, or there's something that from an educational program that doesn't seem quite right. So do we also need to have some resource on our side to match this level of effort to make sure that it really goes well and achieves what we're looking for?
Lori, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. I think we've talked with Hill about this. We have the same question, Mark, that we want to know what's coming in and that it's what we expected and all of that. So I think a combination of school staff and Hill will be working with them as all the furniture arrives. We want to be sure we're on top of everything you just named. So I've done this in my last district, and surprises happen, or you get it and you're like, wow, that's not what we thought, or that we're missing some, or this is broken a little. So we're anticipating that will be par for the course. So I know Vinnie Miller's said he'll be standing close by, and SMMA will be standing close by, because obviously they're also the ones responsible for working with Sephora on any vendor contacts that need to happen. And educationally, Justin and I will be hovering a bit. I anticipate walking through pretty much daily just to be sure we know what's coming in and catch anything as it happens.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, should we go back to the previous one first? I think we've got Steve's question addressed. Last call for discussion on this. Nothing. I'd entertain a motion then.
So moved. If you scroll up, I'm happy to read it.
The CO number. Is it a PCO or a CO? It's a CO. I don't have the number either.
PCO 78.1. Yep.
I move to approve PCO 078.1 for $67,710.
Great. Thank you, Matt.
Second.
Thank you. Is that Heather? All right,
Yes.
any discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. I think Alexa put a note. She was stepping off for 10 minutes, so she's not here for this one. Heather Bout,
Yes.
Peter Fashalis,
Yes.
and Don Goriel, I'm a yes. Andrew Herchuk,
Yes.
Tim Holt. Tim still here? Tim?
Yes,
How do you vote?
sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you. Lori Hunter,
Yes.
Mark Howell,
Yes.
Pat Nelson,
Yes.
Charlie Parker,
Yes.
Matt Root,
Yes.
Steve. Are you back with us, Steve Stashevsky? You're abstaining? Okay. All right. The FF&E consultant, Stephora's through SMMA. Where are we with that one? Okay. Any motions to entertain on this one?
Sorry,
It's
I
basically
can
a
make a
change to
motion if you can show me the, sorry.
Yeah, it's an amendment change. So it's a change to their contract, SMMA, for that
Okay.
amount.
Got
Yeah.
it. Then I will move to approve the SMMA amendment number 7 for FF&E on-site supervision.
For
in the amount of
$21,000.
$21,450.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather.
Second.
Any seconds?
Yep.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, any discussion? Then let's vote. Heather, again, Alexa's not here for this one. Heather Bout,
Yes.
Peter Fashalis,
Yes.
Don Goriello, yes. Andrew Herchuk,
Yes.
Tim Holt,
Yes.
Lori Hunter,
Yes.
Mark Howell,
Yes.
Pat Nelson,
Yes.
Charlie Parker,
Yes.
Matt Root,
Yes.
Steve Stashevsky.
Yes.
Very good. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is it construction progress time?
Yep,
Fun
I'm
stuff.
just making sure we covered everything here,
Not that
so.
money's not fun, but
Moving on. Yeah, I think we're good. So thank you for getting through that. So construction progress. So we've mentioned this a few times. Definitely some excitement building on site and in the community. 2 months from now, roughly 2 months from now, the kids will be walking through these doors and having their first classes in this building. So this is just a preview leading up to the end here. So we're excited for this project to come to fruition and for people to start using the space as is intended. So updates building by building here. We've got building C. That's the most complete, as you'll see in the photos, but we're pretty much there with the MEP finishes.
that's the academic wing. And
That's
sorry,
that's correct. That's the
where
academic wing.
are.
Yep, correct. Yep. So we've got a little bit of painting wrapping up in there. All the wall finishes are done and being punched out. We've got same scenario with the ceiling tiles and cabinetry and the elevator. So the big activity that remains in C is the flooring, and they're about 40% through the building with the linoleum flooring. So they started at the lower level, working their way up through the floors. So making good progress there. They've got a good amount of resources to really push the flooring and meet the target dates here. So we're feeling good about that. And then one thing that we've seen this week is some final cleaning starting to happen. So you're getting close when you see the cleaners on site, making sure that everything's clean and ready to go for day one. So
are they following behind the flooring? Like, how does that work? If flooring's only 40% complete, how are they?
Yep. Yeah. So flooring's done on the lower level, and then they're following behind.
When's the completion of the flooring scheduled to be done in that section?
In C?
Yeah.
Do you have I don't know if we have a hard date. Do you have an idea, Jonathan?
Okay.
About 2 more weeks. They're doing about a week and a half per floor.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Just curious.
Yeah, and they've already done some floor prep and some other activities in B as well. So they're starting to move to the other parts of the building with flooring too. So building B overall, we've got all the sheetrock is in, painting is ongoing with the final coats. The MEP finishes are at 50%. And then individually in some of the spaces we're at 50% completion for the media center, 75 for cafeteria, 50% for the offices, the art language rooms, the concrete floors were polished, and that's the finished floor in those spaces. Cabinetry's in. Stair 3, the mist metals and seating area is still in progress. Got some photos of that. And then the exterior facade work is 95% complete at this point. So they've really buttoned up all the exterior. Building A, we've got servery and kitchen. The epoxy floor is complete. At this point, we've got kitchen equipment. We've got half of the kitchen equipment in the space. We've got good progress in the GFRP panels in the auditorium. The gym is in great shape. They've got all the overhead work done. The subfloor is in progress, so they're doing that now. The flooring will be right on the heels of the subfloor. The locker rooms are 70% there with finishes. Site work, they're chipping away at small things that they can still do. Everything's weather dependent, but they're 90% complete with everything, and obviously just trying to get the grass to grow and things to take root in the spring. So other highlights, I've got a lot of highlights related to commissioning and utility services. We had another progress meeting for MEP commissioning on the 17th of this month. CTA is working on all the pre-functional checklists. The generator startup was scheduled for tomorrow to get that equipment bumped and started. We've got for the building envelope commissioning, the roof infrared testing was complete. Everything checked out there. We've got the whole building air leakage scheduled tentatively for January 18th. We've got one more location remaining for window testing, just to finalize that testing. Then we've got Verizon, just trying to get some phone lines into the building. Hopefully this in the coming weeks. Comcast work is done at this point, and then we've got CMLP bringing the fiber over to support the HVAC commissioning. So that allows them to do some of the control work there. So things are all coming together from a commissioning and utility standpoint as we start to get the building up and running with equipment and technology and that sort of thing. Any questions on progress? I got some. Matt.
No, it would be awesome to have one more tour before it opens, if we can get that together, maybe in January, if it's not too much trouble.
Sure.
I have since procured a hard hat, so I'm bringing my own PPE.
All right.
I'd love that too.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Matt,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we want to hold the
was
tour,
calling
but
on
I
that.
guess Ian, I'm wondering if if members of the committee can attend the full building air leakage test on the 18th.
It is a Saturday. So I'm assuming that you're interested in checking in.
I would be interested. Yeah. I don't expect the whole committee to show up, but
is anyone else interested?
I would be interested. I can go on a Saturday.
I'd be interested as well.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as everyone's on board with that, I don't have a problem with it. SGH is doing the testing, so they'll have personnel there all day. We talked to them last week, and they walked us through the process. They've got a really long day planned for that day, so they're going to start super early in the morning, and they'll run 15, 16 hours on that Saturday. And we've spoken to CTA. They have to clear out all their trays. There can't be anyone in the building. So there can't be people going in and out as we're doing this. So it's going to be a very quiet site that day, and really just SGH on site doing what they need to do. We've got CTA prepped to help, make sure everything's buttoned up and ready for the test, alongside SGH. But yeah.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't stay for the whole thing. I'd come middle towards the late of it.
Yeah, sure.
Again, I'm also curious about the MEP commissioning. I mean, it looks like it's really just kind of starting to kick off right now. But just a request for updates as reports are issued.
Sure. Yeah, we can continue to share those.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? It's 8:53 and we still have a CMLP update, so I just want to be cognizant of everyone's time.
I was hoping to find out what the fiber live date is when we'll have internet access in the building for the controls.
That is something that we're trying to get a hard date on as well. But I know it's a top priority for CMLP. So
okay, you want to get through these, Ian, so we can hear from someone?
Sure. Yep. So a few more photos here, just highlighting some of the things they accomplished around the buildings. They were putting down some sod on the hillside, just kind of prepping some of the landscaped areas around the plantings and whatnot. So
can I just point out that right picture where you go back for a sec, that right one? Remember when we talked about the first floor being sort of below grade and there were concerns about light and whatnot? That's it. So that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good job to SMMA. All right, keep going.
Linoleum and C. So we've got some progress snaps here of in the classroom spaces down the hallway. Good progress on linoleum flooring. Finishes are continuing in C, with the wood trim, different details in the spaces. We've got some doors in the stairwells, which is nice to see. Some media center snaps here. Some seating areas and interior curtain wall, storefront. These are the art language classrooms with the polished concrete. Other flooring prep happening there. Here's the auditorium progress, and you can see all the GFRP panels overhead on the walls. Gymnasium. So this is the subfloor operation that's happening here with the putting down the poly and then subfloor on top. So they're prepped and ready to go, but everything overhead is done, painted, in place, all the way down to scoreboard, basketball hoops, lighting.
Is that the wood floor and boxes?
It's the plywood
that is
for
the
wood floor.
subfloor.
Oh, that's the subfloor. Like,
Yeah.
have they out the maple to let it acclimate?
They want to get some of the subfloor down first, and then they'll bring hardwood in for acclimation. So they don't have to, they don't want to move it around.
It'll be any day. We'll have the top
Yep.
strip floor.
Okay, just want to make sure that's happening.
Yep. Yeah, we've had a number of conversations with them about
that's come up
acclimation
a lot.
of the flooring. Yep.
It's a real thing. You put it in without acclimating, you're gonna have huge gaps or buckling. So it's
no, it's built into the master plan.
all right, good. I figured it was, but when I didn't see it laid out yet, I started to work.
Then just some other highlights on the exterior, some of the storage sheds in the back. I know there were some questions about the pad that was when you look out from the loading dock to the left. This is that pad receiving storage sheds, and then here's where your new signage, your middle school signage is going to go. So they've got the lighting, just got to get the sign in place. So almost there. And that's all. Yeah, that's all I had for construction update.
Great. Any questions, anyone? Oh, Heather.
Yes, if I can jump in, just first of all, these are amazing and I love them and it's really exciting to see all the finishes. And Ian, could you send me those actual photos, all the photos you used, so we can start to share those out?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Thank you. CMLP, did I see Jason on here?
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Jason. Does everyone know Jason from CMLP? Where'd you go? You moved on my screen.
You see me? I'm here.
Awesome. I think Lori had asked if you could do an update for us. So yeah.
Happy to provide one. So thank you for having me today. I wanted to give an update kind of on where we are on our operations and also talk a little bit about the battery and the storage project that was voted at town meeting and kind of where we are on that. So we have received our current transformers. These are what we use to actually meter the school. Those had a very long lead time, so they're ready to be installed, and that will require a very brief outage for us to install, and we will coordinate that with Griffin and CTA and Hill and make sure that everybody's aware of the schedule of that. And at that point, the school will have everything that they need to be a full customer. They're being billed by using other sensors that are kind of more temporary. So as was mentioned a few times in the meeting before this, the broadband team is working on fiber, getting that fiber to the building. It's actually scheduled to happen tonight for a brief outage for Sanborn after school gets out. And Lori, I'm assuming that they've coordinated with Derek and Peter. I'm not sure if you're aware, but they need to basically reuse the fiber from Sanborn to kind of splice in. So Sanborn will maintain all of its current connections after they're done tonight, but we'll have these new fibers available. We're pulling additional 12 strands of fiber, about 1,000 feet to a splice case, and that will allow for the 6 strands that were requested for the new school. So that's exciting. I think that they would be done and ready to actually terminate those in the rack either tomorrow or early next week. So we'll make sure we stay in touch with the technical people who are coordinating that.
So Steve, there's your answer. The 19th, 20th, maybe into early next week.
Yes. For the solar panel installation and design and RFP process, I want to let everybody know where we are. So if you'll remember, it's about 400 kW of solar on the rooftop and about 700 of canopy solar was designed for this site. And that was intended to make the school net zero based on its estimated demand and consumption, which was kind of calculated very early on in the project. So our thought process here is to target at the earliest the summer timeframe for installation to not interfere with the operations of the school, and also to allow the roof and the membrane some time so that we don't have any concerns with the work that we're doing impacting the roof, and that if something happens through that process that we know that it was caused by that and not some defect in the equipment or installation problem with it. We have been creating RFP packages separately for both the rooftop, the canopy, and the battery storage. If you'll remember some of the early conversations, and I'm not sure who's been plugged into what, but the rooftop solar can be completely absorbed by the school and with no concern of pushing back any additional power to the grid. The concern was that with the canopy, the reason that there's so much canopy solar was because obviously in the winter months, we're not generating a lot of solar output. And so for the school to be net zero over the course of an entire year, we need to have some overbuild, which means that during the summer and in the kind of late spring and early fall, we're generating a lot more electricity than the school needs. And that's what the battery is there to absorb, is to make sure that it doesn't create problems on the distribution system. So without the canopy, we don't need a battery. But the canopy is necessary to make the school net zero. And obviously the town has a goal of as much in-town solar as feasible. And we have the financing to hopefully to do that. So when we bid it, we're going to be bidding it the rooftop as the main thing, and then the canopy as an alternate so that we can see the pricing on the canopy. We got a lot of different pricing from people in the process. Some of it has been very expensive and almost prohibitive. And then other quotes have been in the ballpark of what we had anticipated. So we want to make sure that we have that visibility. We've also been working with Baker Tilly to maximize our elective pay or direct pay contributions from the Inflation Reduction Act. And this would be providing almost a couple $1 million for the whole project if all three components go through. So they have provided a lot of help to craft our RFP in such a way that we can compare a quote that might meet all of the domestic requirements and then quotes that maybe don't, so that we can understand what the total cost of the project would be. Because if we don't meet certain domestic content requirements, not only will we not make a certain credit, but we will have a penalty. And so, you know, that's kind of a calculated game of figuring out which is the best and most cost-effective project. So they've provided a lot of great consulting and help on crafting that language. Council has all of the RFPs and has kind of built the whole package, and we feel like we're in a good place. The final piece for us is to get a site license with the school, the district, the town, whoever is necessary, to make sure that we have the permission to install this equipment, operate it, service it, maintain it. And so we have provided the school district with a draft of that. And then earlier this month, I think on the 10th, I visited the school committee to kind of give an update on this process and where we are. And I will say, you know, one of the concerns that everybody has is the battery and the implications of that, the installation of it, the safety of it, the fire protection. As people are probably aware, while there are many other projects in the state with very large batteries, including several that are at schools or on school properties, there are concerns about how we design this in as safe a way as possible, and that we minimize any risks to the building or to life safety for people who work or visit the school. The battery has been designed at the site where it's at, kind of from the beginning. And I think SMMA can speak to kind of the early conversations about, you know, where their thought process was on siting it, where it's at. It's about 50 to 60 feet from the side of the cafeteria and the utility generator area. It's a tricky location. There's a natural gas line coming in for the generator, as well as where the transformer and the switchboard would be installed as well. So we are coming up with as many options as we can to figure out the configuration, location of the battery, the orientation of it, the building, the chemistry that might be used. It's a really tight property, and there's not a lot of great places to add a battery at that site other than there. And again, without spending many, many millions of dollars to upgrade the distribution system, there's not really a way to put the canopy solar there without a battery. So we have been working with a company out of Austin, Fractal, who is helping us design our RFP package for the battery. And we feel we're getting pretty close with that as well. We've asked the school to focus the site license on the solar. right now, because the motivation for that is that if we go out to bid for the canopy and the rooftop solar, and we find that the canopy solar is going to cost $12 million, let's say, and we've only been authorized to borrow 7.5 million, then we don't really need to focus on the battery at this time. And it's possible that by the time we get to the canopy piece, either the scope changes, costs come down, whatever, that the battery might not be required, because those distribution system upgrades I mentioned are planned in the next several years for CMLP. So there are possibilities like that. So I'd say that our next step is really to work with Lori and their council and her people to figure out how we can get an agreement in place to allow access to the rooftop and the canopy areas for the solar, and then go out to bid with that and see how the numbers look. If everything looks good and is in line, then we can start having concrete conversations with the battery. Part of the challenge with the battery is that it's a little bit of a chicken or egg thing, right? You want to get as much information as you can to people so they can understand and vet what's being asked, but you can't do that without really going out to bid and giving a lot of concrete details about what you are requiring. The fire department has been engaged in this conversation for a very long time, and they're going to be relying on the state fire marshal's office for a lot of questions and resources there. And typically what the process is somebody gives detailed proposal about the size, the location, the chemistry, the orientation of a battery, and then they can go through their checklist to make sure that this is in line with all of their expectations. But we're looking for guidance to say, well, why don't you give us those ideal things so that we can create the project in a more successful way? And that really, their office isn't really set up to do that. So we've been working with them. We've also had a really great working session with Aegis, who's our excess liability insurer. They have a whole battery loss department and battery wing of their company that all they do are, they're basically loss engineers to prevent loss for them. And we had a great session with them and invited the fire department, the public safety, the building commissioner, and all the inspectors and the school to kind of go over what their best recommendations are and what they're seeing. The great news is that batteries are as safe as they've ever been. There are many, many megawatts installed today, and there's a very low incident rate, but we're very sensitive to the fact that this is a brand new building and it is inhabited by students. So we want to make sure that everything that we do, everybody is comfortable with. So we're not going to bring a project forward that people have a lot of concerns with. And so let's see, just want to check to make sure. In terms of financing and funding, I think that the quotes that we got back early in this process were suggesting that it was not going to be as feasible for the canopies, but more recent conversations have yielded much better figures, and that might just have been because of the complexities of managing two projects at the same time. We heard it loud and clear that we need to make sure we didn't impact the schedule in any way. So some of our focus has been on doing what we can on the legal and RFP development phase so that we're not interfering with the construction of the school or affecting schedule or cost there. So I think that was my update for now, and then I'm happy to take any questions that the committee has.
I have one to start. You said that the RFP is going out with the base of the rooftop and an alternate for the canopy and battery. Is that
alternate for the canopies? Yeah, so the method of procurement is different for the panels because they're going to be installed on a building. So this is a different procurement method. The battery as a utility can be procured a little bit differently because it's not going on an existing building. And also just because of who typically bids on those, there's a lot of other services, not just installing the battery. So the people who typically do the solar things are not going to be the same people who bid on that. So those will be two separate RFPs. There'll be one that will be solar on the rooftop with an alternate for canopies. That's bid number one. Bid number two would be the energy storage and the first one also includes a switchboard, which would tie in the canopies, the rooftop, the battery, the line power, and the school all into one kind of component.
Okay, and then all right, thank you. And my second question is, how long will the installation take? Will that be like summertime? What's the schedule
Yeah,
for?
so I think the rooftop will be considerably easier because they're not having to install the columns. The canopy conduit is all installed and ready to go, so we don't have any groundwork that we'll need to do, but we definitely will be pouring some fairly hefty pilings that are, I think, like 48 inches in diameter and 25 feet deep. So that work will be pretty extensive and disruptive, I think, in the parking area for sure. Our hope is that the rooftop is pretty non-impactful, but still, all of it could be completed in the summertime if, you know, things are lined up in the near future. If the site license takes several months to develop, then that's probably not a feasible schedule, but it just depends on how soon we can get that information. And we've also asked council, originally council said that there would be concerns with going out to bid without the site license in hand, but that might be negotiable. We might be able to go out to bid and just change the documentation to reflect that, you know, we don't yet have a site license. The concern there is that people don't want to spend a lot of their time creating a bid to only to find out that you don't really have permission to install something there. So there may be fewer bidders, which might not be as good for competition.
Okay, thank you. And last question, when are the bids due? According to the RFP that council's reviewed.
So the bids are typically due 3 to 4 weeks after we go out. That's kind of the time frame that we're thinking. We need to allow people to have a chance to visit the site, take a look at it. And there's going to be some probably preliminary engineering discussions that we'd have, you know, like open sessions that we'd schedule so that people can ask questions. Just because it's a very complex project, we don't want people to just think this is just throwing up some panels on a roof. You know, there's a lot of nuance to this. So we would have a couple of information sessions, probably one on site and then one that's just kind of an engineering call to answer questions. And that would require addenda and that process. So we're thinking like 3 to 4 weeks it would be open.
Okay. And council's still reviewing it, so it's not on the street.
No, I mean, council, they're good. They're good. You know, I think the last part that council would be involved in is the negotiation of the site license. If the school has their council review something and they're okay with it, we would also have to get the council to review that, but that should just take a day or two. I mean, unless that turns into, you know, a back and forth conversation, but yeah, so council
Okay, I'm
is
getting a
not
little lost
actively
then. When's
working.
the RFP hitting the street?
That depends on when the site license is done.
Okay. All right.
Well, just for
I
clarification.
have one final question.
Dawn,
Go
can I
ahead.
just clarify? We just got that last week. So the school committee's seeing it. I have to talk to the chair about what the next steps are. So I'm not sure how quick that turnaround will be.
Yeah, okay.
More to
That's
come.
fine. One last question. There was a time where you had a woman that was a PM as a representative for CMLP. Does she still work on the project? Is she still involved or no?
She's still a limited status employee of the town and available to work on the project, but you know, we kind of got to the point where we were not finding it helpful, and you know, in terms of the conversations and construction meetings, you know, it was a challenge sometimes to
Okay, so no,
participate.
not really.
Right,
She's
we
available,
have
but
the
it sounds like
resources, and if anybody would like us to attend, we are happy to attend. We've come as often as we've been able to.
okay, great. Matt. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, and Jason, thank you for that excellent overview. I guess if I could reframe the RFP release question in an idealized timeline, which I know we don't operate in always, but when would that RFP be released?
You know, it would be nice to be released in January or early February. That would still allow us to have time to kind of make a summer installation. A lot of the installers that we've talked to have panels, you know, in stock and warehouse because they've been squirreling them away with knowing that the IRA is spurring a lot of development and building. The battery we anticipate to take a little bit longer from the time that we procure it, but that we've been told that 3 months is still kind of feasible for panels, but that really depends on who bids and what they have. The conversation with the people that we've discussed this project with, you know, think that that's realistic, but if they don't bid and we get somebody else who bids and says, oh, it's 9 months or, you know, 12 months, then that's the concern. But the more people who bid, the better chance we have of getting this done pretty quickly.
Thank you, Jason. And then I just have one other question on what you said. You mentioned some piling work. I guess my recollection was that we had covered the school project had covered most, if not all, of the subterranean work in the parking lot. Is that not the case?
Gail is shaking her head. Gail, do you want to say something?
I actually was gonna let Jen take that one from the
Yeah.
site.
No, from a site perspective, we have all the electrical infrastructure going to where we've coordinated footings for the canopies to go, but the foundations themselves were not part of this project.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen.
Yep.
I just want to point out there's a handful of folks that need to leave, so like in short, shortly. So I just want to, and without rushing, I just want to make everyone aware. Other questions for Jason? Charlie?
I have a question about the alt strategy for the panels. You're going to have the strategy, it seems, would allow you to, if the bids came in high, and I just want to confirm this, allow you to pursue an approach that was for less canopy infrastructure than you otherwise would have liked to have installed to get to 1.1. So I'm just asking, I mean, is it a possibility that we'll have fewer canopies than we're spec'd out for the 1.1 megawatts?
I think in my mind, it depends on how high the canopy prices come in. If it's negligibly higher than we had anticipated and we think that we can accommodate it in the project cost, then that's not a deal breaker. If it's significantly more expensive, then I think we would probably pursue the rooftop only and then rescope the canopies and see. We'll have two more data points. One, we'll know how much that's going to cost. And two, we'll also have a better idea of the school's actual usage, because everything in terms of design for net zero was very early on developed based on anticipated usage. And now we actually have all the equipment procured. Even today, we'd be more accurate than we were when we first spec'd out that number, because even if everything's not on and running, we know what it is and we could look at the load requirements. But by that time, we'll actually have some real data. And so we'll know what net zero actually is at the school. So that might help us. I think we overbuilt it 10 or 15% was the kind of the guess is for the 1.1. So we'll have that, right? So then I think if the canopies were completely unaffordable based on the town meeting vote, we could rescope the canopies so that maybe we don't need 700 kW of canopies, we only need 400 or 500, and then that would cut the cost because we could cut out, two of the canopies, and we could have those discussions with the school on what's, where would they like them or which ones are more important, and that's a whole nother discussion. But so that's kind of my thinking is what we would with that data and information, both the cost and then also the school's usage, be able to rescope that.
But in that scenario, you'd have to where it came in, exceedingly high, you'd have to do a rescope and a rebid. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we can only spend what we've been authorized to spend, so.
But you can't simply take the bid results and shave it.
Yeah, so I don't.
Either you go with it or you don't, and if you don't, you got to rebid it and rerun the whole procurement in terms of the canopy side of the equation. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, the bid document is pretty complicated as it is because of the domestic content requirement alternates as well. So there's essentially 4 bids that are coming back. There's rooftop domestic content met, rooftop not, canopy met, canopy not, and the language is meant to be as clear as possible, but it's still going to be a lot of work for somebody to calculate the domestic content versus not, because that's a lot pricier and more complicated to figure out from suppliers, because they need a threshold, right? It's like 40%. So they need to get certifications on steel sourcing. It's just a lot of information that is going to be required. So I think it would have gotten really complicated if we had said spec out the canopies at 100%, 75%, 50%, and they want to know specifics, right? Because we can't just say, well, just get rid of one canopy, because this canopy over here might cost 600,000 more than that canopy just because of the nature of the soil or where it's at. So yeah, it's pretty complicated. But I think that if the canopy's in the ballpark, but there's, concerns about it, or the battery still has some unknowns, then we could look at breaking that apart and, figuring out specifically where does that cost lie? Is it in this one area? Is it, 60% of the cost, and maybe we just change that and we can afford everything.
Okay, sounds good. It sounds like a good strategy.
And I just want to point out we're losing a few people, so I think we're okay quorum-wise, but just want to, I think we're over what was assumed by 20 minutes, which is all valuable info. Don't get me wrong, Jason. I just want to make sure we're not losing critical mass here. All right, other questions for Jason? Okay. Then I guess we'll say thank you for the update, Jason. I think it's a testament to how complicated it is to achieve net zero. So I just want to remind everyone that it's no easy task. So thank you for all your hard work, and everyone at CMLP for, trying to do what the town has asked. So appreciate the update, and sounds like we'll hear more as, the RFP goes out and bids come in. So feel free to come anytime and give us updates, even if we're not asking, Jason.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you. Okay, so any new business? No? Any public comment? Nothing? Okay. Last chance, just wanna be sure to give everyone time. Okay. Next steps, next meeting, Ian? It'll be January.
The next meeting is going to be January 16th. It's the third Thursday. You do not have an invitation for it yet, but I will send out all the invitations for next year.
Okay, I will be on an airplane that morning, so I cannot make that day. Okay. All right, then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, team.